What's going on, everybody? I'm Beatdown Boulevard, and welcome to the 4th episode of the ABCs of the OWL. And today we're going to talk about the tank heroes, the big damage-soaking characters of Overwatch. Before anything else, I should talk about the difference between a main tank and an off tank. Main tanks are tanks you want in the front line because they have the active abilities that protect your teammates, like a shield that provides cover for the supports and DPS characters, and that allows them to space, which alleviates pressure. Off tanks can also do this to some degree, but they mostly provide space in different ways, like damage and utility from the abilities they have, or both. First up is D.Va. She pilots a mech and is an off tank. While in her mech, her primary fire is a rapid fire shotgun type with short fall off damage and a decent spread, which can also headshot. Her first ability is her defense matrix. This is a powerful ability that immediately destroys any projectile that is shot within a field that she emits in front of her. And that does include certain ultimate abilities. The easiest way to describe it is that any ultimate ability that can be shot or fired off in some way can be eaten by Defense Matrix. It has a 15-meter range and lasts for 2 seconds, then needs to recharge. Next is her boosters, where she launches her mech in any direction for 2 seconds, but can be cancelled anytime, and when she bumps into enemies, it knocks them back and deals damage. D.Va also has an ability called Micro Missiles, where she fires a barrage of small missiles that deal damage in a small radius. A unique ability she has, even among Overwatch casts, is that when her mech health reaches 0, D.Va actually ejects out of the mech and you play as a mini D.Va, or as people call her, Baby D.Va. When that happens, her health is greatly reduced and only has her primary fire, which is a projectile type pistol. In this form, she has a different ultimate, which is called Call Mech, which calls her a new mech with full HP, and anyone within radius will take small damage as well. Her ultimate, while she has her mech, is her self-destruct, where she exits her mech and sets it to explode after 3 seconds, dealing 1,000 damage to anyone in range, and less as you get further from it. If you use her boosters beforehand, it actually launches the mech in that direction as it's about to explode. Every time she uses self-destruct, she gets another mech. Now we have Orisa. Orisa is a main tank with her primary fire being her fusion driver, which is a linear projectile type weapon with a large clip and the ability to crit. Her alternate fire is Halt, where she launches a graviton charge, and once it detonates, it pulls enemies towards the explosion. Her Fortify halves all incoming damage for 4 seconds and prevents her from being under the effect of any sort of crowd control, like Flashbang, Doomfist, Rocket Punch, and anything. Her protective barrier that she can fire for her arm has 900 HP, but it is stationary. It lasts for 20 seconds if not destroyed sooner, and can be redeployed every 8 seconds. Orisa's ultimate is the Supercharger, where she drops a small device that increases her team's damage by 50% as long as they are in the device's line of sight. The device can be destroyed, and being behind enemy barriers counts as breaking line of sight. And this is Reinhardt, who is also a main tank. His primary fire isn't something you actually fire, it's really just his giant hammer, which he swings from one side to another, does a decent amount of damage per hit. His alternate is his barrier, which has 2,000 HP, and when not used, it recovers about 1/10 of that every second. While it's out, Rein moves slower and cannot attack in any way. He also has his charge, where he, you guessed it, charges in a straight line, pitting the first enemy directly in his path while knocking all others aside during. Does a small amount of damage if you're knocked aside, but if you pin someone and they collide with a wall, it does massive damage that will immediately one-shot any squishy character. Rein also has his Fire Strike, where he whips his hammer forward and sends a flaming projectile which goes through enemies and barriers for a good amount of damage. His ultimate is his Earth Shatter, in which he slams his hammer into the ground, knocking down and damaging anybody in front of him, as long as they're not covered by barriers. Alright, this guy here is Roadhog. He's an off-tank, but not exactly a conventional one. His primary fire is his Scrap Gun, which is a hit-scan shotgun type, does strong damage and a short range, and can headshot. His secondary fire is his Shrapnel Ball, a linear projectile shot that peaks at some pretty high damage at medium range, but is subject to falloff. His first ability is his Chain Hook, which is also a linear projectile hook that he throws at a target, and if it catches them, it pulls them right in front of him, while stunning them. Roadhog is also considered a hybrid hero, and you could guess it, as he's a tank as well as a pretty good DPS hero, because he does a lot of damage and can offer a lot of utility by bringing people out of position into his team. And in higher levels of play, everybody respects the hook because they know it means certain death. Take a Breather allows Roadhog to heal 300 HP, and during it he takes half damage, so with having a total of 600 HP, he can really take a beating. And finally, his ultimate Whole Hog is a rapid fire shotgun ability where for 6 seconds he's constantly firing scrap doing high amounts of damage, as well as offering a lot of knockback. Next we have this gorilla, Winston. He's a main tank that works a little differently than Rein and Orisa. The space he makes works in tandem with certain type of characters on this team, and we'll talk about that in a future video. His Tesla Cannon is an AoE beam type ability. Damage is slow but builds over time, as it has a very large clip, and it cannot headshot. His Jump Pack is a damaging movement type where he catapults himself in whatever direction he's facing, and any enemy in the small radius when he lands takes small damage. His Projected Barrier is a barrier type ability, but this is one he lays down and it activates, similar to Orisa's, but it's more of a half sphere. And it has 600 HP, which lasts for about 5 seconds or until it's destroyed. His ultimate is his Primal Rage, a transformation ult that buffs Winston, adding 500 to his maximum health and fully replenishing his health and armor. In this form, Winston can only melee and jump, but his jump goes from a 6-second cooldown to 2 seconds. The ult lasts 10 seconds. Lastly, we have Zarya. She's an off-tank who makes space with her damage and utility from her abilities. Her primary fire is her Particle Cannon, which is a linear beam type ability. And the damage it does varies on how much energy she has, and it cannot crit. Her secondary fire is an explosive charge that's an arcing splash projectile that also has varying amounts of damage depending on her energy. So now that you're wondering about this energy business, I'll tell you. Zarya has what's called energy that she builds with her particle and projected barrier. She starts with 0 and maxes at 100 but loses 2 every second. Her particle barrier is a personal one that has 200 HP which lasts for 2 seconds or until destroyed. Every 10 damage to the barrier gives 2 energy for a max of 40. Her projected barrier is like her own, but she can give it to one teammate, which can protect them and even save their life at the last second while giving her energy. Her ultimate is her Graviton Surge, which is a cast time ultimate that shoots an arcing projectile, and wherever it lands for 4 seconds, any enemy nearby gets sucked into the point of explosion and is trapped while taking small damage. And finally, here we have the newest addition to the Overwatch cast, Wrecking Ball. First, he has his quad cannons, which are hit scan, can crit, and of course are subject to fall off. Next is his roll. He transforms into a ball, increasing his max movement speed and hiding his hitbox so that he can't be headshot. His grappling claw lets him anchor to an area and swing from it. With enough momentum, it will damage and knock back an enemy. And if you swing high enough, you can also use his Pile Driver, a melee ability where he slams into the ground, damaging enemies around him and launching them upward. His Adaptive Shield adds 100 barrier HP, plus an extra 100 per enemy nearby. Finally, his Minefield. He deploys a field of long-lasting proximity mines that explode when approached by an enemy. Alright everybody, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Next time, we're going to go over support heroes and their abilities on the next ABCs of the OWL. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon, and catch you next time.